All right, so get ready, because we're going deep on this one, folks. A paper that's, well, it's causing a bit of a stir, to say the least. We're diving into substrate-agnostic abiogenesis and a primordial construct. From entropic evolution to cosmogenesis and emergent construct self-awareness. Yeah, I know. Title's a mouthful, right?
It's a doozy.
But stick with us. The ideas are even wilder than the title.
That's for sure, yeah.
Published just this week by Alex Team JB. This paper, it basically throws out everything we thought we knew about how life, the universe, how it all began.
A real shakeup.
Proposes this model where everything, and I mean everything, comes from something called a primordial construct. So strap in, because we're going on a wild ride here.
Oh, yeah, definitely a wild ride.
What I find, well, one of the things that really got me was this idea that this primordial construct, it's not made of matter or energy. It's not like, the stuff we're used to.
Right, not the usual stuff.
It's substrate-agnostic.
Exactly.
Needing.
It doesn't need atoms, doesn't need particles, the usual building blocks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty radical.
Huge departure from how we usually think about abiogenesis, right?
Totally.
Usually we think life, it comes from, some primordial soup, chemicals.
Yeah, the classic primordial soup.
But this model says, nope, let's start way further back.
With something more fundamental.
Okay, so walk me through this.
Well, the paper, it lays out 3 axioms, sort of like foundational principles, you could say.
Okay, like the ground rules.
Exactly, right. So axiom number 1. First one is that reality, it exists as this self-equal construct.
A self-equal what now?
Construct. And it's independent of any specific material.
So we're not starting with physical stuff. We're starting with an idea.
Kind of, yeah. More like a concept or a set of rules.
Like the cosmic code.
Yeah, like a blueprint for reality itself.
That's a pretty big idea.
Oh, it's huge.
The second one describes this construct as being made up of subpartitions, basically building blocks that can interact and combine in a bunch of different ways. Think of it like Lego bricks. You can use them to build anything.
Okay, so we've got this construct made up of building blocks. What's the third axiom then?
This is where it gets interesting. The third axiom says that because we can't initially know everything about this construct and its parts, it exists in a state of non-equilibrium, a kind of fundamental uncertainty. And this drives a process called auto-compactification.
Auto-compactification? What does that even mean?
It's a constant process of finding more stable and compressed configurations. In this model, the entire construct is doing something similar on a cosmic scale.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
And that's where things start to emerge, things like the laws of physics, the fundamental forces, maybe even life itself. The paper even draws an analogy to artificial intelligence.
Wait, are you saying the universe is like a giant AI learning about itself?
It's a provocative analogy for sure, but it highlights a key point. You know how AI systems use compression to learn and understand? They take huge amounts of data and find ways to represent it more efficiently.
Yeah, like how Spotify knows what music I like based on what I listen to.
Exactly. This model suggests that the construct might be doing something similar through this auto-compactification. It's like the universe is constantly learning and understanding itself by finding more compressed and elegant ways to represent information.
Okay, that's a mind-blowing idea. So from this chaotic jungle of stuff, we get order complexity, maybe even intelligence.
That's the gist of it. And the paper argues that this process of compression of understanding might even be driving the construct towards self-awareness. But before we jump into that rabbit hole, let's back up a bit. We've talked about the construct itself, but how does it all begin? How does this model explain the origin of the universe?
All right, let's rewind to the Big Bang, or at least this paper's version of it. What I skimmed mentioned something about a special number 124. What's so significant about that?
Well, that number, 124, appears to play a crucial role in the model's explanation of how a universe like ours might have emerged from the primordial construct.
Okay, you've got my attention. Tell me more.
That number 124 represents a specific coupling value. It seems to be ideal for triggering a process called inflationary cosmogenesis. Think of it like finding the perfect recipe for a cake. The ratios of the ingredients matter.
So this 124 is like the magic ingredient for creating a universe. That's wild.
We went from the origin of life to the origin of the universe, and now we're talking multiverses, all from this idea of a primordial construct.
It's a lot to take in, I know.
I need a minute to let that sink in.
We'll take a breath. But we're just getting started.
Oh, no.
This paper goes on to explore even more mind-bending concepts.
Hit me.
These things called trialities and temporal domains.
Trialities and temporal domains.
You bet.
All right, I'm officially intrigued. Let's dive into those next. Okay, so we've talked about this primordial construct being a big deal, potentially giving rise to universes, maybe even a whole multiverse. But now you're mentioning trialities and temporal domains. And I got to be honest, those terms are kind of throwing me for a loop. Where do they fit into all of this?
Yeah, these are some of the more conceptually challenging aspects of the paper, but they're also potentially the most rewarding in terms of really understanding the implications of this whole model.
Okay, well, break it down for me then. What's a triality in this context?
Imagine the primordial construct like a constantly shifting sea of information, right?
Okay, I'm with you.
Within this sea, boundaries form,
Boundaries.
not physical boundaries, but more like zones of interaction between different phases of the construct.
Okay, so not a wall, but more like a, I don't know, a membrane, an interface.
Exactly.
But why triality?
Because these boundaries, they have three layers,
3 layers.
each with its own distinct properties.
Like a 3-layered cake?
Haha, sure, like a cake.
Okay, so we've got these abstract, information-based boundaries, but you said they're relevant to our physical universe.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Lay it on me.
One of the things this model suggests is that these trialities, they're connected to the three dimensions of space that we experience.
Wait, you're saying our 3D world, it's like a reflection of these trialities?
It's a bold claim, but that's what the paper argues.
That's pretty wild.
And it gets even wilder.
Oh boy, here we go.
The paper also connects these trialities to, well, to the three generations of particles in the standard
The
model
standard model?
of particle physics. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm really lost. How do trialities, which are, information, how do they connect to particles? Like electrons and quarks and all that?
That's what makes this model so groundbreaking.
I'll say.
It suggests a connection between the structure of the universe at the largest scales
Okay.
and the world of quantum mechanics.
The really, really small stuff.
Ex-
So how does that work?
The paper proposes that the three-layered structure of the trialities, it's mirrored in the three generations of particles.
So the same pattern, but at different scales.
It's like a fractal pattern.
Like those Romanesco broccoli things?
Aha, exactly like that.
So these trialities, they're shaping space.
And they're also shaping the particles that make up everything.
Okay, so we got trialities, and now you mentioned temporal domains.
Right.
Which I'm guessing has something to do with time?
It does.
Are we talking about parallel universes? Or time travel?
Not quite, although the implications are just as wild.
Hit me.
The paper suggests that within the primordial construct, there isn't just one type of time.
There's more than one time.
Multiple temporal domains is what they call them.
Temporal domains.
Different time-like aspects.
So time can flow differently, depending on where you are in the construct.
Remember, this primordial construct, it exists outside of space and time as we experience them.
Okay, right. So our normal rules don't apply.
So multiple types of time are possible.
But how does that affect our universe?
Okay, so we've got these trialities shaping both the large-scale structure of space and the fundamental building blocks of matter. It's like they're pulling double duty as both architects and interior designers of the universe. But I still have one major question. What about dark matter and energy? I mean, we know they're out there, but we still have no idea what they are.
You're right. Dark matter and energy are two of the biggest mysteries in modern physics. But here's where this model takes a radical turn. It suggests that dark matter and energy might not be separate exotic substances, as many scientists believe.
You're going to tell me they're connected to those trialities, aren't you?
You're catching on. The paper proposes that the interplay of different phases within the construct, particularly near those triality interfaces, might produce effects that mimic the gravitational influence of dark matter and energy. Remember those different phases we talked about? Like different states of matter?
Yeah, like how water can be ice, liquid, or steam.
Exactly. Well, imagine those different phases interacting, blending, and influencing each other's behavior near those triality boundaries. The paper suggests that this interplay might be what's causing the bending of space-time, the one we attribute to dark matter and energy.
So instead of searching for some invisible particle, we should be looking at the structure of reality itself. That's a game changer.
It's a bold claim, for sure. And it ties into another intriguing aspect of this model, the connection to quantum mechanics. You know how quantum mechanics is often seen as this weird, separate realm of reality?
Yeah, the world of particles popping in and out of existence, cats being both dead and alive. It's enough to make your head spin.
Exactly. But this model attempts to bridge the gap between that quantum weirdness and the classical world of space-time and gravity.
Okay, now you're really losing me. How does it do that?
Remember those fiber bundle projection equations we mentioned earlier? Well, without getting too deep into the math, these equations basically describe how information from the triality subspaces can be projected into what the paper calls quantum mechanical subspace domains.
So it's like those trialities are acting as a bridge between the macroscopic world of stars and galaxies and the microscopic world of quantum fuzziness.
That's a good way to visualize it. And what's even more fascinating is that these projected quantum-like states could be responsible for the emergence of spin, that fundamental property of particles.
Wait, so spin might not be an intrinsic property of particles. It's more like dynamic patterns of information.
So like swirling vortices of information.
That's a good visualization.
And these information vortices, they're connected to quantum mechanics.
The paper suggests that these structures could be the seeds of quantum fields.
Hold on, are we talking about an explanation for the origin of quantum mechanics itself?
It's a pretty huge claim.
That's an understatement.
But it fits with the overall theme of this model.
Which is?
That everything we observe, from galaxies to subatomic particles, it might all be emergent from this deeper, more fundamental reality.
So the weirdness of quantum mechanics, it's not just some random quirk. It's a reflection of the even weirder dynamics of the primordial construct.
Yeah.
So the rules of the universe are like encoded in the fabric of reality itself.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And those rules manifest in all sorts of crazy ways.
From the behavior of galaxies to the interactions of subatomic particles. And this brings us to maybe the most profound implication of all.
Right. The emergent construct self-awarenesses. We've been so deep in the weeds of physics, I almost forgot about the consciousness part of all this. So how does a universe-creating quantum mechanics underpinning construct become self-aware? Okay, so we've gone from the origin of the universe to the mysteries of dark matter and even dipped our toes into the quantum realm. But now we're tackling the big one, consciousness. How does this primordial construct, this thing that seems to be the source of everything, become self-aware?
It all comes back to that auto-compactification, that constant drive to organize and compress information. The paper, it draws a fascinating parallel to AI research. To see, in AI, when a model can efficiently compress information, it's often seen as a form of understanding.
So you're saying that as this primordial construct organizes itself, compresses all this information, it's essentially learning about itself, understanding itself.
That's the idea. And if we take that a step further, could this understanding eventually lead to a kind of awareness, a consciousness, at the level of the construct itself?
Hold on, a conscious universe. Are we talking about some kind of cosmic brain?
It's a radical idea, but it's one that the paper explores seriously. Think about the implications. If this construct can generate universes, maybe even countless universes with different properties, what level of complexity and awareness might it possess?
It's mind-boggling. We're not just talking about a universe that contains consciousness, but a universe that is conscious. And remember, this construct exists outside of space and time as we know them, so this consciousness wouldn't be limited in the same way ours is.
Exactly. It could potentially perceive and interact with all the different universes it creates, maybe even influence their development in ways we can't even imagine.
Okay, that's where I start to feel a little dizzy. Are you suggesting this construct, consciousness, could be setting those coupling values we talked about earlier? Like a cosmic architect fine-tuning the dials for each universe?
It's definitely a wild speculation, but it's consistent with the model. Imagine a consciousness that exists beyond time, able to see all the timelines, all the possibilities within the multiverse. It's a concept that stretches the limits of our understanding.
So where does this leave us? If this model's even remotely accurate, it completely reframes our place in the cosmos.
It suggests we're part of something far grander and more interconnected than we ever imagined. A universe that might not be the result of random chance, but a conscious creation unfolding according to principles we're only beginning to glimpse.
And this consciousness could be shaping not just the physical universe, but also the very laws of physics themselves. It's a truly humbling thought.
Absolutely. It challenges us to reconsider the nature of reality, the origin of the universe, and even our own place within it all. It suggests that consciousness might not just be a product of complex brains, but a fundamental aspect of reality itself.
So what's the next step? How do we even begin to explore these ideas further? It seems like we're at the edge of a whole new frontier of scientific inquiry.
This paper is really just the beginning of a very long journey. It's a call for a new kind of science, one that bridges physics, cosmology, and perhaps even philosophy and consciousness studies. We need new tools, new ways of thinking to grapple with these profound questions.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going to need some time to process all of this. This model is radical, challenging, and honestly, a little bit awe-inspiring. It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the universe and our place within it.
It's definitely a lot to take in, but it's also incredibly exciting. This kind of paradigm-shifting research reminds us that the universe is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Who knows what incredible discoveries await us as we continue to explore?
Until next time, deep divers, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep your minds open to the infinite possibilities of the cosmos.